Am I the antagonist for having a craving of something that makes my partner sick? I, 25 female, recently found out I was pregnant with my partner Lyle's, 26 male, baby. We've been together for 3 years and we live together. Lyle has ADHD, which he refuses to get treatment or medication for. He's pretty normal about 85% of the time, so I haven't really pushed it. One thing that really affects him, though, is sensory problems. He has a few, but the biggest one is bananas. He cannot stand the smell of a banana or the taste of banana. He's accidentally eaten something with banana before and ran to the bathroom like a child to throw it up. If we are somewhere and someone is eating a banana, he will claim that he can smell it in the room and make us move with the threat that he will get sick. If we don't move, he will start gagging, make himself throw up, and I've seen him start shaking too. This has happened in public before and it's extremely embarrassing. Anyway, let me tell you what happened. I was really tired, pregnant, and hormonal yesterday, and while I was watching my show I had a craving for a banana, which I normally avoid when around Lyle, but pregnancy cravings are just too strong to resist. He was going to get groceries from work, so I called and asked him to get me some bananas because I was having a craving. He started begging me before he even got them to not eat them in the house, and I just got fed up and told him no, that I was carrying around his child, and the least he could do about it since he's not the one having to nurture the damn thing in his stomach was get me a banana. I'd read online that this was probably the baby's way of telling me it's deficient in potassium, and that all I could really stand to eat at this point was the damn banana, and I don't want to deprive it of what it needs. He argued back and forth asking me to go eat it outside at least, and out of frustration I just started crying, which made me feel embarrassed. He finally gave in to calm me down and brought it home. I'll admit, I was still really mad and upset from our argument on the phone when he came home, and I in that moment couldn't face getting up and going to the kitchen. When he came into the living room and sat on the couch, I asked him to peel it, cut it, and bring it to me. I really didn't think that was a big deal, but he blew up at me and told me that I knew it made him sick to even smell or touch. I told him that plenty of people have foods they don't like, and he either needs to grow up or seek help for his illness because he's acting like a child and his problem with bananas is completely abnormal. We argued a bit more, and he finally got up, yelled that he was tired of my bullshit, and left the house. He hasn't been back yet. I get his issues are a sensitive topic for him, and when I was talking to my friend about it, she said she had an autistic sister and what I did was a bit messed up. So Reddit, am I the antagonist? Hey guys, it's Kyle here, Jessica's boyfriend. Yes, she literally changed my name from Kyle to Lyle and thought that was good enough. One of her friends sent me this, and I want to set the record straight because I am beyond pissed off. First, I want to address this refuse to get treatment or medication bullshit. I was diagnosed with ADHD as a fucking child. It took until college to realize I needed to adapt things to how my brain worked rather than slap a medication over it and try to pretend I'm neurotypical. I adapt well in life. I graduated on the dean's list in college, and I'm doing well at my dream job and thriving as an ND person. Do I still forget about the laundry sometimes, or have a hard time focusing on certain things, especially when I'm tired? Yes, and it pisses Jess off. Does mean I have issues? Fuck no. This medication BS started almost immediately after we found out Jess was pregnant like a month ago. It wasn't approached like, hey Kyle, I noticed that seems to be hard for you, I think you need help with that. I was instead first asked if my ADHD was going to spread to the baby, literally spread was used, and second told that I should probably take this as a chance to get it under control because she didn't want the baby to grow up dealing with any problems. Now let's get to the sensory aversions. I have been through therapy to manage it. I can now, after years, touch paper towels without my gums hurting, but bananas I just cannot deal with. People who aren't ND and don't deal with sensory aversions don't understand that it is literally physically painful in many cases and genuinely makes me sick. I don't make myself throw up. My body naturally reacts like that. Jess has told me many times how embarrassed she is by it and how it affects her, and her solution is exposure therapy. What she doesn't realize is that's essentially the same thing as torture to me. There are some cases, like the paper towels, where I've realized it's just a little too common, but bananas are not common enough for me to sit there and torture myself just to make her feel less embarrassed next time she wants me to try a smoothie her sister makes and lie about the ingredients. Finally, other details I think are important. I'm just going to bullet these because I'm going to write too much otherwise. Jess was binge-watching a show on Netflix and wanted me to bring her a banana while she watched the show on the couch. We are in a one-bedroom apartment and the smell would probably be there at least for a day. We had gotten in an argument about my ADHD and me not having meds, see pages 2 and 3, the day before, so this didn't seem like a sudden craving but a more cruel jab since it was still tense. The pregnancy wasn't planned, and no, random commenter, I didn't fucking rape her. She was on birth control and it failed. She wasn't too sick to get up. Furthermore, she was too lazy and pissed and told me to go cut it for her because I just want to watch my show in peace. I'll admit, I snapped when she insisted I cut the banana and do just this one thing for our child to show I care, as if she didn't go out and quit her job pretty much immediately without even telling me, and I'm now dealing with all the household expenses while she shops. I've also been caring for most of the house because she's already claimed being too pregnant for morning sickness. So yes, I was fed up with her bullshit. ADHD is not an issue. It just means my brain works a little different. I'm so tired of the ableist bullshit that's come from nowhere. Edit, I didn't realize bananas were such a common aversion. Everyone always told me it was weird. I say we outlaw bananas? WIBTA. Cravings in pregnancy don't give you the right to treat your partner like shit. If you think he's such a child and exaggerating his sensory issues, why did you choose to have a child with him in the first place? WIBTA. You are pregnant. That does not make you the grand high empress of everything or entitle you to use your condition as an excuse to make other people miserable. It'd be one thing if you'd asked him to get over his aversion enough to bring the food home, but torture yourself and prepare one for me was multiple steps too far. And as for your little just get over it lecture, I hope you don't expect mercy when you hit the part of the pregnancy where you're avoiding foods or trying to get your kid to eat, because I wouldn't be forgetting this anytime soon if I were him. Throughout your post, you belittle his behavior around bananas and reduce him to being childish. And you made him pick up bananas and then asked him to prepare it for you, knowing fully how he responds? Being pregnant isn't a pass to ignore your partner's boundaries. Prep the banana yourself and go eat it away from him. It's not that hard. Am I the antagonist for making my son's dad pay me to change his last name to his? I have a 13-month-old son who has my last name because his dad wasn't interested in fatherhood originally. He had a change of heart and tracked us down 2 months ago. To be frank, I'm still angry he tried to make me abort our son and then washed his hands of me when I wouldn't obey him, so besides the financial help, I'm not grateful or happy about his change of heart. He asked me if I would change our son's last name to his. It made me angry because I'm the one who wanted him, carried him, and raised him alone until 2 months ago, so I don't think he deserves for our son to have his last name. However, I know it would benefit our son to have a bigger connection to his father's family in the long run, so I told him I would change his last name to his for X amount of money. He was visibly angry and made a comment about how I wasn't as innocent as he thought, and he told me I was very good at hiding my true colors. While he did agree to give me the money, he's being cold towards me now, and I keep thinking about what he said, which is making me feel like a real asshole. Am I the antagonist? NTA. But you gave in too quickly. If I were in your shoes, I would tell him that provided he stay involved physically, emotionally, and financially, over time, and work out some shared custody, etc., that if he's still involved, I would consider it before the kid starts kindergarten, but he would need to file the paperwork and fees, and I would not object. NTA, but don't do it. Your son can have a connection to his dad's family without their name, only if his dad puts in the work. If he stays useless, giving your kid his name is not going to bridge the gap. NTA for asking, but for God's sake, don't change his name. Your ex is gonna bounce again, and then your son will be stuck with a name that means nothing to either of you. Don't use your infant as a bargaining chip for money. Your son's connection to his paternal family will be more dependent on their involvement in his life than a shared last name. Take him to court for child support and a custody order. If he wants a name change, he can take that up with the judge. Am I the antagonist for recording my husband? Background: my 32 female have been married to my 36 male husband for about a month, and I moved to his country after the wedding, and that's where we now live. The problem is that my husband never takes my word for it or believes me about anything unless he has solid proof. For example, I am an English teacher and English is my first language and his second. He was writing a report the other day and asked me if the word nil was spelt like nil or with one L. I spelt it correctly for him, and he decided that he still needed to Google it to make sure that it's correct. He does this all the time, no matter what. He'll ask me something, only to then Google it or ask someone else. The other day he went out to work and came home early. Exhausted, he took a nap where he then snored loudly before stealing the blanket off the bed. I was working next to him as he slept and had to get another blanket as it was cold. I thought it was funny and told him when he woke up. He didn't believe about either thing and asked me for proof. I told him I would record him so that he'd finally believe me when I spoke. Every night he falls asleep before me, so I've been recording him snoring. This morning we got onto the topic of snoring, and I told him that he was snoring last night, but, again, he didn't believe me. So I told him I had proof this time. He proceeded to get pissed off at me because I violated his privacy. He also claimed how hurtful it was and how wrong I am and how I need to see things from his perspective. I explained to him why I recorded him, referring to our previous conversation, but he claimed to not recall that conversation at all. We're currently not speaking because of how much he blew up about this. So am I wrong to record my husband? Sorry for any errors. I'm outside on the steps typing, and it's pretty cold. NTA. He can't ask for proof and get offended when you show it woman facepalming. NTA, he's gaslighting you. He can never be wrong, and the more wrong you are, the better. He asks you for spelling and then Googles it so he can throw a wobbly if you give him the wrong spelling. He dared you to record him, thinking you wouldn't, and then made you the villain when you proved yourself right. If he's not violent, your choice to stay. But you will always lose arguments with him. The more right you are, the more violated he will feel. NTA, this is called gaslighting. It's a form of emotional abuse. He asked for proof, so you gave it to him. Next time he asks you how to spell something in English, ask him why he's bothering to ask you if he's just going to Google it anyway, and then tell him to Google it. You won't help him unless he apologized for disrespecting you. Don't help him if he's going to pull that crap. Am I the antagonist for saying my daughter won't go on these outings if she's forced to just entertain some kid? So yesterday my wife took my daughter, 7 female, swimming. Wife's friend and her daughter Helen were going with them, and I guess she brought her nephew Johnny along too. My daughter loves to swim, and they were going to her favorite beach, so she was excited for days prior. She's met wife's friend and daughter before and is kinda indifferent to them, but she knew it involved swimming, so she was looking forward to it. When they got back, I asked if they had fun. My daughter said no. I asked why, and she said that she barely got to swim because Helen didn't want to, so she had to play on the playground with her instead. Later I asked my wife what happened, and she said that daughter was playing more with Johnny than Helen, and Helen wanted to play on the playground instead of swim. She said it wouldn't be nice for Helen to play by herself while daughter played with Johnny and left her out. I said, that's stupid. You went there to swim, not play on the playground. You can go to any park and play on a playground. She said yeah, but Helen didn't want to swim. It was mean for daughter to be swimming with Johnny while Helen was all alone. I said, so it was more important for Helen to have fun than daughter dash? She said no, but it was one swimming trip, she'll get over it. It's better for her to form a friendship with Helen than Johnny anyway. She'll see Helen more and might not ever see Johnny again. I said that's not the point. She's not there just to entertain some other kid. She deserves to have fun too, or maybe she won't go next time. If she's just going to be forced to do what Helen wants. Wife said I was being dramatic and sound like an ass, basically saying too bad, so sad, play by yourself to a little kid that was all alone. That daughter needs to learn to compromise sometimes for other people. I'm seriously considering taking off next time there's a play date like this if my daughter is just going to be forced to be Helen's entertainment. Am I the antagonist? NTA, your daughter deserves to have fun. That is not a compromise. Your wife told your daughter to be a doormat. NTA. Sounds like Helen only has fun when she gets her way. That's how it'll be every time your daughter goes to play with Helen. By allowing this, your daughter will not want to have play dates with Helen at all, which will create problems for your wife and her friend. It may not be a big deal now, but it could be if your wife doesn't understand what this could do to your daughter. By your wife's own logic, Helen was being mean and unfair by not even considering a compromise or giving swimming a shot. The backflips through logic your wife had to make to justify what happened is very interesting and hypocritical. That being said, it's important to teach kids that they don't have to befriend or get close to another kid if they don't feel like it, and that they don't have to play anything or do anything just because another kid said to. I don't think Helen was being malicious, but your wife is definitely in the wrong here and should re-examine what she's teaching your guy's daughter. NTA. If Helen doesn't want to swim, she doesn't have to, but your daughter isn't responsible for catering to her when they obviously aren't really good friends. She shouldn't be forced to form a friendship with Helen for any reason. I would take off next time just so there's someone who can stand up for your daughter and make sure she enjoys herself, since it seems no one else will. Am I the antagonist for telling my ex's daughter that I am not her aunt or her other mom? I, 34 female, was with Liam, 35 male, for over a decade, had 2 children with him, and we broke up when I learned he was cheating on me with Ella, 30 female. Ella was pregnant when I learned about their affair, and the 2 of them were very smug about the fact they were going to start a family with my kids, who were young enough at the time to potentially see Ella as a second mom in their lives. Ella was downright nasty, saying she could provide them so much better because her parents were wealthy and she'd be number 1 mom in no time. We ended up getting shared custody of our children, and the schedule was week on/week off. X and I had to meet at a neutral location per our custody order to reduce conflict and any problems with the exchange of our children. The judge also ruled that Ella could not be present for exchanges given her alienating language toward me that was not totally hidden from mine and Liam's children. My ex and Ella got a big shock when her family did not support them following the realization that she helped him cheat and had gotten pregnant with someone who had a family. So they ended up struggling. While I was doing better than ever after making a career shift I had wanted to do for a bit before that. They of course realized over time. This was, I think, just after they had their daughter and around the time they got married. Then the name I had heard for their daughter was suddenly changed to my name, and they started being super kiss-ass with me and saying how my kids deserved one family unit and how their daughter was named after me, was my kid's little sister, how she needed someone to help support her and give her the life her siblings have, etc. I told them they were batshit crazy and I was not their daughter's anything. They had 2 more girls since then. And apparently they are telling those girls that I'm their aunt and or their other mom, hence the older of the 3 being named after me. The oldest is always trying to seek me out. My ex brings her during exchanges of our kids and she rushes out of the car with my kids. They have told me how uncomfortable it makes them because they aren't allowed to correct it. I told my ex he needs to say something. I said the same thing to Ella, but they didn't. A few days ago their oldest sought me out again and asked if she could stay when my kids stay with me and how she's so glad I'm her aunt and her other mom. I told her I wasn't. I said so kindly. But I was also firm that I was not her aunt or her mom in any way. She got upset and ran back to her parents, and then I got dumped on by Ella for breaking her daughter's heart. She said they had only tried to be nice and make the best of the family situation for the kids, and I was TA. I feel kind of bad because the little girl was devastated. At the same time, I don't have any interest in being part of those 3 girls' lives in any kind of way, except for when I see them for my kids. Am I the antagonist? OMG, not the a-hole. She's playing the long game of manipulation and hoping you'll just get worn out and go along with it. I feel sorry for the kid, who's obviously been told a pack of lies. That must hurt a lot, but that's really got nothing to do with you. Your ex should be stepping up here too. He started this crazy shit, and it's his daughter. NTA, you didn't lie to their daughter. Ella's kids are not anything to you, and you don't owe them anything. NTA, the insanity of some people just continue to astound me. You know who broke a little girl's heart? Her lying parents. Shoot this down 100% every single time. The instant you relent, they'll just have more kids for you to raise. Time to report this behavior to the courts. Would I be the antagonist for telling my stepdad's family my college fund no longer exists? Context: I, 19F, start college next week. Nothing crazy, just community before transferring. When I was 16, my stepdad's aunt gave me $5,000 for college. My stepdad deposited it into his account so I wouldn't have access to it until I was 18, which I was skeptical about, but okay with since my mom is usually the one that recklessly spends or uses my money. Well, about a month ago I found out that the money is gone. Apparently, it was used for my mom's car payment and the mortgage during COVID. Obviously, I was angry and upset. She showed me her regular car payment and I kind of just let it subside. Well, today, I told my grandma about it in casual conversation, and she brought up some points I hadn't thought of. Number 1, my mom was shopping beyond her means during COVID with her stimulus money. Number 2, I was never told and the check was written in my name, so how was my stepdad able to cash it? Lastly, his family more than likely doesn't know. She's livid about it, and usually I'm very confident and argumentative, but I know this would cause a massive rift in my family and I don't know if I want to deal with that. Anyhow, would I be the antagonist? Info: my mom was still in college and was a waitress, so she wasn't making much money. My stepdad worked for StatMedVac, but due to some issues with higher management was out of work for a few weeks. NTA: your parental figures went behind your back and stole from you. Then didn't tell you till you noticed it. NTA: if your stepdad's aunt can get a copy of the check through her bank, you can look at it to see if they forged your signature. She may not be so cooperative since it is her relative that stole the money. You need to tell. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That was your money that they took for safekeeping. They straight lied about it. It would be different if they had asked for consent, but if the difference between your child getting an education is a car payment, that's when you buckle your boots and get to work. No way they should have taken your money without your consent for things that do not help you. Please tell them. Really sounds like this was your mother's doing. Like you said in the past, she's the one who recklessly spent your money. She's the one who wasted her stimulus check and it was used for her car payment. I would confront my mom first because while it was on your stepdad's account, I wouldn't be surprised if it was your mother's decision.